Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Connected to computer audio.
We will get started here in the next 5 minutes.
Good morning.
Hope all is well.
Victor?
Good morning, Henny. Good morning, Mr. Rojas, Ismail, Patrick, Victor, Axel.
Morning.
Leslie, good morning, good morning.
Sorry too.
I made it today.
Glad to see you. Glad to see you.
Morning, Leslie.
Kate, good morning. Hope everyone's had a good weekend. Everyone had a good week to end of last week. Hope everything was good inside and out of trading. If you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Get your snacks, some water, some coffee. We've got a lot of stuff to go over today. I think it'll be a good call. Just good going over some of y'all's assignments. It's fun. It was fun. We'll get into it. Excited to get into it.
Oh, I just noticed ICT space at 11.
Wonder what he's gonna jamble on about today.
Yeah.
His iPhone has joined the meeting.
Question is Zoom talking out loud when anybody joins?
I don't think that's mine.
Mine's been doing that since I joined.
I hear what you're talking about too. I don't know what that is. I don't know where that is even in settings. But it is 10:05, so we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Hope all is well. Hope everyone had a good week. So going into this week, we got a decent amount of stuff going on this week. Nothing on Monday, but on Tuesday we've got Brick Summit all day, so that's tentative. We've got existing home sales at 10 and a manufacturing index at 10. On Wednesday, BRICS Summit again, that'll be tentative, and then you've got a flash manufacturing PMI and a flash services PMI being released at 9:45 on Wednesday. On top of new home sales at 10 a.m. So a little bit of a jam-packed morning there. Watch out for these PMIs. These tend to get a little volatile. BRICS Summit again, right, on Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you've got BRICS Summit tentative all day. But then on top of that, on Thursday, you have unemployment claims at 8:30. And you've got a durable goods order month-on-month, core and regular. On top of that, inside the unemployment claims at 8:30. At noon, you've got an FOMC member speaking. And then you've also got the Jackson Hole Symposium all day. So a lot of tentative news throughout the entire week. Keep that in mind, right? If it's not the BRICS Summit, it's the Jackson Hole Symposium, and those things are tentative. So expect the market to be volatile. I'm not going to say it's going to move in one direction, but there'll be a lot of volatility throughout the week and throughout the entire days of the week because we do have these tentative news items that linger. On Friday, you have FOMC members speaking again, both at 9 and 9:40. So speaking before and just after equities open. You've got a revised consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. And right after that, literally 5 minutes after that at 10:05, you've got Powell speaking. On top of a red folder tentative Jackson Hole Symposium. So, I think Wednesday and Friday will probably be your most volatile days, but I think Thursday has the potential to be pretty volatile as well. So keep that in mind when you're trading, right? Friday, keep in mind that Powell speaks just after 10. You've got the red folder Jackson Hole Symposium on day 2, and that's tentative red folder. Look out for unemployment claims, 8:30 on Thursday, and these flash PMIs that come out at 9:45. Does anyone have any questions for the news going into this week? All good? Okay, so how this call is going to go, at least for this week, is I'm going to go over DXY. Henry's going to just give you guys an update on ES as we normally would. If we have any questions there, we can answer any questions there. And then we are going to review some examples of some assignments that got sent in this week, see some trades that you guys took, and then we will go into next week's task, and we will talk about that. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so dollar, last time we spoke was in the midweek call, and we were talking about these two buy-side liquidity pools, right? We were hoping that we could potentially clear both of them by the end of the week, but we only got one, and that's okay, right? We were watching these two civvies, seeing once we got above and had some form of closure over them to look for inversion. You can see, obviously, we're pulling this civvy from the weekly, right? We had this weekly civvy, and you can see on Thursday and Friday of last week, we were able to purge into this high right here, right? Using this as inversion. I would like to potentially see that same thing happen. Right now, we've kind of got relative equal highs here. So my next target is to see what we do with this buy-side liquidity. We did pull down, right? We pulled down and we closed below the open of this past candle and below the low of this candle. I would, right now, aside from keeping the CIBI in the back of my mind, to see where we can potentially see support and go higher into the second pool of buy-side liquidity, call it 103.8. I'm going to be taking the consequent encroachment of these wicks, right? I'm going to be taking the consequent encroachment of these wicks right here, right? Which happens to be about the mean threshold. Consequent encroachment of the CIBI, just about, but not quite. Make this dotted. Alright, so I'd be looking to see if we could still maintain any daily closure above that. I would like price to overall respect the CIBI, but then I would also go ahead and keep this in mind too. right? I would do the consequent encroachment of this one. But I would be wary though too, just to make sure, you know, if we do decide to pull back below here, right? I would be watching this, right? This SIBI is going to kind of show me maybe our potential next direction. So if we do decide to close below it, I would like to see price maybe act as resistance and head back down into here. Now there's nothing really stopping us in here that's considered, to me, some form of imbalance. We filled basically everything in here. So to me, I think that since there's nowhere to balance, we will continue potentially going up. You don't really have a swing point in here either. So there's no swing point that I could identify until about this point right here. Right? So really, this low is really the only low on a daily that we've formed as a swing point for me to be looking at any potential market structure, right? With regards to the daily. If you do go back on the weekly, one thing that I would potentially look at too is just to see if we could get some form of rebalance on the previous week's high right there, right? You got this previous week's high, extend that out. If price wanted to, I would like to see price pull into here, right? Get some form of immediate rebalance into this wick and still go higher, right? There's nothing in here besides this BISI that I don't think that's a stretch. I think that this could be considered a balanced price range in here. So with regards to where we could go before delivering into buy-side liquidity, I would say the farthest I would want to see it is the very top half of this BISI, which would lead into this previous week's high, excuse me. Something like that, right? Want to see that balance, and then I would want to see it be very sensitive and trade away from it if we are going to continue going higher. Once we take this buy-side liquidity, I'd like to go neutral. So I'm not going to talk about that until it potentially happens or unfolds. But I do like how this weekly candle, note that the weekly candle did close above this SIBI, right? Weekly candle did close above this SIBI. So that's something to keep in mind too. So it might not even give us an argument to rebalance this, and we might just have some form of wick in here. And then we will basically go higher and we could create some form of fair value gap, right? If we don't immediate rebalance, I would like to see price at least respect the SIBI and form some form of fair value gap, with the exception that we could go a little bit lower and trade into that one daily wick's consequent encroachment, right? And then trade higher. But until then, I'm still bullish on ES. I still would like to see this buy-side liquidity get taken. Once that happens, if you are looking for higher targets on there, I would say the next, stop would be the next stop would be this volume imbalance right here, right? So that would be the next area where I would be looking for price to push. But I am going to, as a trader, go neutral for the most part once we take that liquidity, because of the fact of us pulling into potentially the mean threshold of this weekly order block, right? This is a weekly order block, highest up close candle on a swing point that created a low, right? We took out liquidity. So when I look at this candle and I look at the mean threshold of it, we're pushing into it. I'd like to mitigate the liquidity inside of it. So I would like to potentially get one more push up into it, clear that liquidity, and we then could potentially, on the closure of this week, right? If we close above it, I'd be aiming for this and potentially this swing point. If we do not close above it, I'd be aiming for some form of retracement back down into equilibrium of whatever this parent price swing is, right? Whatever high we make, I'd be aiming for some form of return back to equilibrium. Any questions there? Comments, concerns with regards to dollar going into this week? Does that make sense? Right? I'm aiming for this buy side liquidity right in here, but I'm waiting to see how we react once that's achieved, and to see how this mean threshold of this order block plays once the liquidity is taken. Right? Even though we did take a form of liquidity, we do still have relative equal highs unfinished business, right? It's unfinished business. Once we finish that business, how do we close on the week and on the daily? And with that being said, if we close above, I think we take the volume imbalance in here on the daily. I think we can head here, but then also I think the swing point is up for grabs also. Those would be my next two targets if we do decide to show bullishness going into the second half of the week, call it that. If we do push up above it and we close below it, both on the daily and the weekly, I would be looking to try to see some retracement back into maybe this BISI or equilibrium of this entire range. We do have sell-side liquidity down here, so don't forget that. I know it's far, and we do have an imbalance on a weekly in here, even though it's considered balanced. The thing that will guide me to that is how we play on these civvies, right? If we can close back below them, do we start to use them as resistance, right? If we can close back below them, right? If we close back below them, right, I'd like to see this civvy act as resistance, right? I'd like to see this civvy act as resistance, right? And throw wicks on the weekly in these areas and on the daily. Any questions there before I give it up to Henry on ES? Okay. Mr. Henry, the show is yours.
ES on monthly chart. This is the area we are watching to trade back into. It's monthly BISI. So the separation between these two candles is high here, and then this candle's low. And we came back into there this last week, traded down to just about the house point encroachment there. So potentially looking if we are going to trade lower as the low isn't so much. That's pretty much it for the monthly there. Coming into the weekly, in the past couple of weeks, we talked about how this area would trade, this liquidity board, and then watching for price to trade up through it, back down through it, and away from it, and then treat it as a balanced price range, which we see right here, trading up to about the constant encroachment, and then dropping back down into the sell side we're looking for under this swing low and this swing low, and trading into that monthly, basically. The high just being under this line. We also had this little BISI right here, which you can drive through, and we got the close under it here, and then trade back up into it here using it as conversion and trading on the sell side there. So just looking at the weekly chart, I would anticipate that we're likely to continue seeing a bit lower prices. We still have this imbalance remaining here, and then this one down here, trading down into monthly this year. I don't really see much reason to trade back up into this imbalance, which is the only one that's remaining on the weekly, just because it's been invalidating these trading right through all of these potential discounters, if you look at these areas. And then on a higher time frame, looking at this weekly liquidity one, trading through it and away from it, and now treating it as a balanced price range here. I wouldn't see any reason to trade back above the constant encroachment at this point until lower prices are delivered. So I would continue looking for now previous week's low, and then this inefficiency right here, and this one down here if we're going to get more something. Going to the daily chart. So this was that low into the month of BISI. There was that other weekly sell side liquidity right here. We traded to it on Friday, and then traded it back up into the range in the week. So that TGI up setup. And we did leave this little daily inefficiency right here, which I will look at as the next potential sell side target. And that is aligned with that weekly imbalance as well that we are seeing right here. Keep on mind. It's also, I think exactly actually the possible encroachment on monthly basis. Do that as well, 48.25. And then if we're going to trade down into that lower weekly BISI, and we've got sell side risk condition of whatever. So watch that area. If we do come back up into the range a bit, which is definitely possible, if we can come out on power 3 concept to trading up for that manipulation first earlier in the week potentially, and then trading back lower into sell side. We have a couple imbalances when we up here. I like this one here because it's aligned with an old low on the daily chart. So this one is potentially that I really set up here. If we do trade up into here, I wouldn't immediately say that we're going to go higher. This could just be a return to premium and this range to trade lower. But I'd really like to see price stay here. We're going on the 4 hour. We've got these two up close candles here. There's the 40 rock closely aligned with the monthly BC high. And we also have a few inefficiencies here. I like this one here on the one end because it's inside that blue city and just in the lower half. So if we came up to fill this hourly, then that's really the consequent approachment of that blue city. And we could potentially ask to tap up into this monthly BISI. And then, yeah, I'm looking for lows to trade in. So actually something like this. Nothing here. Potentially all the way here. Let's something. And then if we extend past that, then just looking for the next weekly BISI. Any questions here?
If everyone's good, Henry, what I'll do is I'll screen share, go over what last week's task was. Me and you can cover our trades, and then we can get into the slideshow. I'll share my so this was this week's tasks, everyone. So the first task of the week was to simply get a fundamental base for what is to come. Your initial risk on whatever trade you took should have been 0.5%. If you lost that trade, your secondary risk was 0.25%. Obviously, if you were trading futures, trade with 1 to 2 contracts max. If you were trading Forex, because of how the trading view margin is, it's about 250 to 500,000 up lots, 50 to 100 lots on US 500, and 12.5 to 25 lots on US 100. If you do not have the futures contracts. So the goals were to trade on either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. You could pick, and your goal is to trade in and around 3 to 4 a.m., 9 to 11 a.m., 1 to 3 p.m. You're allowed to trade your model, whatever you fit. You could only trade 2 trades. You were aiming for 5 to 7 handles on ES, 5 to 7 handles on US 500. If you trade Forex, about 7 to 10 pips. If you're trading NASDAQ, 20 to 25 handles, both on that and US 100. The specifications of the assignment were if you won your first trade, you stopped trading. No second trade is allowed. If you lost your first trade, you could utilize one more trade to mitigate only 50% of your initial loss and no more. If both trades were a loss, you were supposed to stop, and your total weekly loss should have been 0.75% with 2 losses total. The max profit you could have made on the week would have been 0.5%, aiming for a risk reward of 1 to 1. You're supposed to journal the duration of the trade, time of day, emotions before, during, and after the trade. Screenshot that and send that to us by Thursday. So I'll go into my trade first. I didn't screenshot it or anything, so what I'm going to do is just go straight into my charts and show you guys. So this is just, I've had everything on my charts from the last time I've been talking to you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and just go in on a 1 minute. I'm going to turn my executions on. And me make sure my paper trades are on. Okay, here we go. Here is my 5-handle trade. Now I will say, I kind of broke a rule, unfortunately, because I forgot to, when I was saying the timing of things, I forgot to add the extra 10 minutes on the hourly turn macros. So yes, I did actually enter in at 11:08, even though I was supposed to on the assignment in at 11. I changed that going into that and incorporated that extra 10 minutes of those macro turnovers because I was trading the 1050 to 1110 macro when I went into this. But that's okay. I'm still going to go over it. It is what it is. Obviously, aiming 2 contracts, 5 handles. That's it. So going into this, I actually originally wanted, prior to this trade, I wanted to trade this breaker setup in here, right? I wanted to actually trade this, but because I was at work, I ended up getting a phone call and I could not have played that. So really all I was really trying to do was trade a 5-handle reaction off of this CIBI, right? So I saw the price had a CIBI up here, little tiny CIBI, right? So off this CIBI, there was a swing point right here, right? You see this swing point? Even though my stop was 5 handles, I felt comfortable with that because this was in and around 5 handles of where my stop was. So even getting in here, my stop being at 5 handles put me just above this swing point. So I had a good standardized idea of where my risk was going to be, and I assumed that probably we had, even though there was no imbalance in here besides this little one, and we kind of immediately filled it. To me, as a trader, I saw the breaker setup and I assumed that we could potentially trade a little bit higher throughout the day. But I'm expecting, and really the reasoning for this trade was to try to find price to retrace, find some high in here, and retrace back into equilibrium, right? Back into some form of discount. Even though I knew we were bearish, right? We've been bearish. I've been talking about lower prices. I also had a feeling that we could potentially go into a little bit lower from here. We pushed up higher and then went lower. You can see we fell through. Another reasoning in the liquidity that I was targeting was sometimes, and I don't do it all the time and I don't hold a lot of weight tied to it, but if you notice, this looks exactly like a head and shoulders, right? Right? When you get into trading, one of the first things you talk about is a head and shoulders. And there are times where it's the easiest thing you can see, right? An inverted head and shoulders and a head and shoulders. It's the easiest pattern you can see. So I like to treat that as a relative equal low or like some form of liquidity, because so many traders can see that. You have so many traders that see this form, right? That they see this inverted head and shoulders pattern, and that's supposed to be bullishness, right? That they see that that's supposed to cause, for whatever reason, price to go higher. So that's another case that I was building with regards to that. Before the trade, I was not necessarily rushed or anything. I was calm and composed. This was not the first time that I had a trade idea, because really in reality, I wanted to trade this, right? I wanted to trade this breaker into this, right? Because you had relative equal highs right here, right? You had relative equal highs with these 2 highs. That would have been the better trade. That would have been the more solidified trade, right? The breaker is my model. I really like breakers, even though it didn't necessarily give me an imbalance or a BISI, it gave me an order block too, right? It gave me an order block inside of that, right? Highest or most recent down closure before we took a swing point in here, clear relative equal highs. This right here would have been the trade, right? I would have really wanted to get in here and got out right here, or at the 5 handles, right? But I didn't get that, and I knew I wasn't able to trade on the second half of the day. So really, this is a little bit more of experience in that. But I saw the head and shoulders. I figured that we were probably going to at least retrace back into the 11 o'clock hour. There was nothing in here that I figured that it needed to stretch for. And even though we did actually get back up in here, we wanted to take that liquidity. I lucked out because this is exactly 5 handles. You can see my entry. So really, the idea was to see price push up into that area, see how it closed, right? This candle is the first candle that pushes up into it. We close back below it. I'm getting in right as price is going away, right as I see price push up into here, and then as it's pushing away, I didn't get the best entry, but I got in right here at 44.71.75. Exactly 5 handles from that is 44.66.75. And if you can see, if I was not aiming for 5 handles, this would have came and stopped me out, right? And that's okay. This is part of the assignment. And this also can show you guys why, even in situations, even if this was a take profit, 5 handles is 5 handles no matter what. And that can save you, right? There are trades where you get out at 5 handles and it goes 100 handles. But there are also trades like this where you get out at 5 handles and you got out at that specific low, right? So even though it was 5 handles, that was the best that could have happened to me on that trade. I got out at the very low. There was no rhyme or reason besides getting out at the low rather than it being exactly 5 handles. And when Henry gets into his trade, you'll see how he was aiming for 7 and how that actually tripped him up a little bit. So don't take 5 handles for granted. Whether it's a take profit, whether it's a full terminus, 5 handles is 5 handles. And even you can see within this small short-term trend of going higher, before we ended up taking this liquidity right here, even though we are bearish and we are going lower, I was able to capture a small piece of a retracement, even though my thinking is price is going to go lower. If you extend things out, you go a little bit higher, and you look, we ended up going lower, right? But if you go on a 5-minute, why did we retrace up to there? The reason why we retraced up higher up there is because there was a 5-minute civvy, right? Now this turns into this, and note the candle closure, right? Price goes and hits that one minute liquidity right here. Oh, I lost it. Price goes and nicks this 1 minute liquidity, this little swing high right here, hits it, goes higher, goes lower, right? And then from there, we kept closure no matter what, right? And if you're looking at that too, right? I'm just looking at price right now on a 1 minute, but you have a breaker right here, right? Even though you couldn't have traded in that lunch hour for this week's assignment, right? Even just 5 handles, that would have given you 5 handles pretty quick too. So for the most part, the duration of this trade was 18. It was a little under 20 minutes. It was about 18 minutes, and you know what? It kind of gave me what I wanted. We kind of consolidated a little bit, but really, I will say, as I was going through this, because I wasn't able to record it, when we pushed up and made this wick right here, I immediately looked at the consequent encroachment of it, right, and just started watching for candle closure, right. So the second I see that long wick form while I'm in the trade, even though my stop is up here, I'm not just okay, whatever happens, right? I'm still trying to understand what's going to happen on the next candle. So when we present this long rejection block, I take the 50% of it, and even though we're consolidating, the only thing I'm watching, and the only thing that is kind of my survival guide in here on knowing whether or not my trade could potentially be right, is seeing how candles close in and around the consequent encroachment of this rejection block, right? And then you can see the respect. Once we are ready to go, you can see we have a minor shift in structure right here. Minor shift in structure right here. Price breaks that, comes up, tests that one more time, look at the accuracy, and then goes lower, right? And only went lower for 5 to 6 handles. And because I was aiming for 5 handles, I was able to achieve that. If I didn't get out at 5 handles, guess what? My stop would have eventually came, because you weren't allowed to go break even on this assignment, right? So I would have ended up I would have incurred loss if I didn't do that. So that's mine right here. If you guys want to see, trading panel. There's my $500. I had one trade, so I stopped after the week. If you guys can look and see for the rest of the week, There's no trades taken anywhere. All right. Any questions on my trade before we get into Henry's and the rest of the trades? Yes, I understand. Carson, you traded 8 minutes past 11. I know. I kind of wasn't thinking about it in the moment. And I will make sure going forward, when we do go into time-specific elements and hours that we want you guys in, we want you guys out, I'll add that extra 10 minutes into the hourly macros, the hourly turnover macros. But if anyone has any questions for me, let me know. This was my first trade on the assignment. Yes, it was easy, but also it's not easy, right? You know, nothing's easy. I don't want you guys to think that things are easy. Yes, things are. Trading will get easier and easier, and 5 handles will seem as if it's not. It'll seem easier than it used to be, but don't think that this stuff is easy, right? Oh, it's 5 handles, it's easy. Don't think that it's just easy, right? You guys are trading and trying to do what people can't do. It's the financial markets, right? You're trying to call one of the most manipulative things in the world, and you're fighting one of the hardest things to fight, and that's yourself. And that's all of the things that you possess, whether it's greed, ego, you know, desire to win, revenge, you know, all this stuff. It's all of these things that you're fighting. So don't think that this stuff is easy, right? Don't take it with a grain of salt, even if it's just 5 handles, right? You know, even though it was 5 handles for me, I still was sitting here and I was following every candle, right? Because odds are I lucked out, because I probably would have taken partials in and around this area, but I also probably wouldn't have had that as my terminus. I was wanting to see I was wanting to see this swing point left untouched, and I was wanting that 5-minute SIBI. I was wanting this 5-minute SIBI to stay open for the most part. I was wanting this to stay open, but it didn't, so that's it. What was my model? Just an easy, it was just basically a fair value gap. It was basically, if you're on a 1 minute, you could say it was a 2022 mentorship model. I always lose this. I wish TradingView had a hotkey to go back to a specific point. So really it was just a 2022 model. You've got a fair value gap right here. I'll go back to the one that I used. I was using this small fair value gap right here. So we have the fair value gap. Right here. And you have a low right here. It's sneaky because all this is happening so quick, so you don't have time to see it, but there's a swing point right here, right? You have a wick low, a wick lower low, and a higher wick high right here, right? And it comes up, so you've got almost like the swing point high and a swing point low right here, right? And it happens all within the same candles, right? Swing low, swing high. And if you also pull out in here, right? All these lows in here are kind of taken too. So in that, aside from this one little swing low, right, you've got market structure lows taken here, 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 and here, right? And even here. All these lows are taken. And on a 1 minute, you've got an imbalance right here. Even though this, see, so this is a big imbalance, and we formed liquidity in it, right? So we had this relative equal high set inside the bigger SIBI, right? Carson, why did you wait for this SIBI instead of this SIBI? Because there was relative equal highs inside of it. So I figured that we would take that, fill the full thing, and if we were going to fill this, I wanted to see this fill. And that's kind of my model. So it was just a regular, you know, it could be, you could say silver bullet, you could say 2022 mentorship model, but one of the two. It could be 2022 mentorship model or a silver bullet. But I don't think silver bullet is past 11 o'clock. I don't know if he includes the macros or not. So in that case, it would be a 2022 mentorship model where you basically just have some low. You have some low in the market, and that low is broken. And in that same vicinity, you have a SIBI form at that same area. Any other questions? Good question. That's about it for me. Henry, that's all you. And that's another reason why eventually, as we get a little bit more into it, we're going to try to have you guys trade specific sets of models, because the 2022 mentorship or the silver bullet, it's not my model, but I understand price enough to kind of get in the position where if you're looking for 5 handles, there's 5 handles everywhere, and it's not going to be everywhere within one specific set unique model. You're going to have to kind of broaden your shoulders a little bit and kind of see what other models are out there that could potentially yield you 5 handles. So, I'm not always trading. That's not a model that I'm going to go and put a lot of risk on, or a lot of model that I'm going to maybe trade day to day to day to day. But I understand price, I understand the models enough and what I'm looking for, and just simple market structure and breaking that with a form of imbalance and having some clear draw on liquidity, right? The draw on liquidity for me didn't necessarily play, right? I was aiming for those 3 lows that inverse head shoulders. It didn't necessarily play out until later in the day. So I would have had to either always make sure I took partials or managed my break even or trailed it enough to where, even though I couldn't do that in the assignment, right? I couldn't trail my break even. We weren't calling for break evens or anything like that in this assignment. So my best bet was to just take the lowest hanging fruit, which was 5 handles, knowing that the market would at least have some form of oscillation and turn and at least flutter back into discount for at least 5 handles. Henry, you're good to share.
You have started screen share.
Okay. Okay, here were my trades. I took them on Tuesday, pretty much back to back, just playing a reversal after taking the initial loss. So the first trade idea was sort of an 830 Judas swing 2022 model. So here at 830, running down to bridge sell side liquidity, shifting market structure above this high, and then a fair value gap formed in alignment with an old high, and this series of backwards candles here, dragging that out, taking my long entry right here, 44.84 and a half, and reaching for a buy side liquidity here. It was potentially a bit of an early trade to jump in on. I felt fine emotionally in the trade, and I was able to mitigate the half of the loss here. But the one part where I kind of could have done better on this trade was keeping more of a focus on the higher time frame bias that we've been talking about. So keeping the focus on playing short for the most part. Those are going to be the higher probability trades when we're looking for a lower draw on the weekly and the daily charts. So here I was thinking we could potentially run this high and then make the move lower, but in hindsight, the better idea would just be to play a move lower after a potential Judas swing first there at 130. A couple of things that I missed here on the 15-minute as well. Just this swing point right here, taking a look at the body and treating that as a rejection block, right? So we trade right up into there. Also, looking at this price swing here, we have a high, a low, and a high as a breaker. This whole series of those panels, and then looking at the body again, which we trade right into, making the high again before we low. So a couple of points there on these higher time frames. But I'm going to take the trade right here in the 5-minute VISI. I get from 84 and a half to the highest candle, which was 89 and a half. So exactly 5 handles right there. Can't say for sure if it would have gotten filled or not, because sometimes you need one tick past it to get it filled. But either way, reaching for a little bit more than it should have been. And that trade ends up coming back down and getting stopped out just under this line. So I was allowing this to trade as well. And so when I took my stop, it's right there at 80 just under this line. And then at that point, I switched from there cut down into a lower time frame in the trade to kind of see what's occurring in the price action. But then you can see here on the 5-minute, this transitions into a sell a 2022 sell. Right? So here we have liquidity is purged, right? And under this low, we have shifting market structure. Shifting market structure under that low, and then leaving this city behind me. So I'm taking my entry right there, just with the low of it to make sure that it filled, and then trading down into sell side of 30 for some reason. So we had lower ones as well, which would be good for each floor, but the goal was just to mitigate after that loss. So that's what I'm doing here. From A down to 7.75. And what's good to watch for here is if you're paying attention to the higher time frame bias and focusing on what's occurring in these higher time frames, and then we think here is this city 15 minutes. If you're getting involved in a trade like that, even on the lower time frames where you're getting your entry down here, not necessarily a dip, you can now look for these higher time frame draws. So sell side here, and under this line, under this line, and you give yourself a better trade opportunity. We're all going to be running it with that. See that? So this was the first trade idea, kind of like a total soup inside of that 5-minute issue that was taken here. And then we get from there all the way to here, just into this rejection block on the 1 minute as well. And then dropping down, shifting market structure under these lows, and then trading as we trade back up into this area. And we're just looking for sell side. Here. So going to our trades. First trade was at 450 off, and then the second trade was able to mitigate roughly about a little bit more, but just about half of the previous loss. So there's no.
And I'll also say, guys, don't get too caught up on making the numbers exact, right? It's not going to play like that, right? Some trades you might get exactly what you're looking for, but just in and around the area, right? It doesn't have to be exactly 0.5%. We just want you guys close, right? It's the couple dollars on the ins and outs of it isn't going to affect much.
Excuse me, how do you guys do the executions to appear? Because on Tradeovate, it erased by the end of the day. Is it because it's in paper?
Yeah, so for these assignments, we're encouraging everyone to do it on a paper trading account.
Okay.
But if it'd be best to do it on a paper trading if you can, but if you are trading your own account, then just make sure you're doing a screenshot so you can document your executions.
Okay.
Yeah, but on this, if you're wanting to show your executions, you just go into trading, you can put on, and paper trading will keep them for I don't know how long, but it doesn't
So as we go into next week, right, you'll see those same two trades. One thing that we want to kind of emphasize is don't reset it, right? Stick with it. So the same trades that we see, the same trades you see on my, you'll see my trade next week, plus the new trade I have, right? You're going to see the continuous trade log start to grow, and you'll see that we're not resetting it, because when you reset it, those trades go away. So really, really, really try to focus on not resetting that. That's something that you really need to push to yourself, and try not to cheat on yourself and just say, hey, win or lose, I'm going to keep these trades. I'm not going to reset this count. I don't care if it's a loss, whatever the case is. I want to try to see, even if I do go in loss, let me build it back up, right? Henry, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the assignments that got sent in this week, right? I think it was a really good first turnout for you guys. Submitting some stuff. We had some really good topics to touch on. So we're just going to kind of get right into it. These are things that y'all sent, whether you're on the call or not. Hopefully we might put yours in there. We're going to keep them anonymous, but if you see yours come on the screen and you want to talk about it, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to kind of just talk about it in a unanimous decision. That way we're not necessarily calling anyone out. I think that just helps people that might be shy. But if you don't care what people think and you see us going over yours and you've got questions on it, or maybe you don't necessarily want to even say it's yours, but you want to have questions, just ask questions on it, right? No, we can leave names out of it. If you want to ask a question on a task, it may be yours, it may not be yours. No one will know, right? We're going to try to keep that anonymous to you guys. But if you do want to come up and be like, hey, that was me, I got a couple questions that I wanted to answer that I didn't necessarily fix in your journal, feel free, right? So first example, I'm going to go over what the journal was, and then we'll go over the screenshots. So this person said he/she took 2 losses back to back within 5 minutes on Tuesday morning, one on ES, then second on NQ. No model followed for the first one, just straight up chasing. My second trade was more of, I'm right, we're going to run buy-side liquidity one more time, when in fact I have no business going long this week at all. We're in a sell program on the daily. I spent Monday and Tuesday pre-market doing analysis of how bearish we are, and that Tuesday might be the high of the week. I felt in a rush to get my task over with, to get it off my back. I do not know why. But that highlighted my impulsive trait that I've been battling with. My 2 losses were long, even though my system says I do not trade in the opposing direction of the anticipated weekly expansion. I thought to myself, all I need is 5 handles, let me scalp ES longs at the open. I never trade the open. I usually wait for the 10 a.m. hour or at least the 9:50 macro. These are the mistakes that I've been doing over and over. Good thing these tasks will highlight all of these mistakes, correct them. Overall, I did very poorly on my first task. I felt rushed, and maybe because the goal was quota too easy. It's only 5 handles. Whether I'm aiming for 5 handles or 50, this is not a game. I'm hoping to manage millions in the future, and this is not how I should manage my capital. I truly believe I'm the only one standing in my way at this point, and when I'm able to fix these things in me, then and only then I'll be consistent. I did not trade this demo account for the rest of the week. I did trade my evals and did a lot better. Great practice, looking forward to the next one. So a couple of things on this thing. My first one is, going back to the first note, took 2 losses back to back within 5 minutes, and both of those are on 2 different assets. I think there's 2 halves to this. One half of that is you need to be aware of what it feels like to be emotionally equilibrium, dead sober in the marketplace, right? Call it being sober in the marketplace. What does that feel like when you are sober, right? And then everyone at some point in time is going to get skewed. And I think a lot of that is, if you're aware enough of when you're sober, you'll know when you're not. And think about how when you are aware of when you are sober, you'll know when you're not. And when you're not, you know that can create irrational decisions. So you need to be able to sit there and say, okay, I'm not going to trade, right? A lot of that is doing what is the hardest is not trading, right? You take that first loss, that's okay. You have all week to get that back. You don't have to get that back within the first 5 minutes. On the other side of it is hopping from NQ to ES, right? Hopping doesn't do any good, right? You want to have the utmost focus. Like the utmost focus, I'm talking delusional hypnosis when it comes to knowing what you're trading, right? Stay with one thing. Even though you can trade other things on this assignment, for that specific assignment, switching back to one, because unless you were watching both simultaneously at the same time, when you were trading, whether it was ES or NQ first, you're zoned in on that right there. And then when you incur loss, you go to another trade that you weren't as tuned into, and if it's within 5 minutes, you want to you don't have time to get your bearings, even if you are switching over, right? So I would say, one, know when you're sober in the marketplace, and when you're not sober in the marketplace, that's when you just don't trade, right? Until you can get sober again, right? Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the newer you are, the longer it's going to take to reach that market sobriety, emotional equilibrium, whatever you want to call it. And then also try switching. It wasn't the initial loss, whether it was on ES or NQ, wasn't because of ES or NQ. It was because of the trader. So it doesn't mean that, okay, if I switch, that market will give me what I want. No, it's not the market, it's you. And you even said it in your second one, right? No model was followed, right? You need evidence. You're a lawyer, right? You have to go in and you have to figure out, um, why you're doing what you're doing. There's got to be a rhythm to your rhyme, right? If you go into surgery and the doctor said, you know what, I'm gonna freehand this one, right? I'm gonna freehand it. He's got brain surgery. I have a set list of procedures that I need to follow to do this brain surgery. But actually, you know what? Today I'm just gonna freehand it. That doesn't. That's I don't. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want someone doing that on me. I would want someone following a set surgical list of procedures that they're doing. And you even said it too. You've been bearish. You know that there's a sell program. You're just. I think that it's a form of anxiousness. This is probably new to you. You've probably never done trading tasks or set trading tasks. You've probably just traded to trade, right? Traded to try to make money in passive valuations, but you haven't honed in on certain little things. So a couple things that I would take from these notes is in your journal, find when you're at an emotional equilibrium, right? What times of the day? What do you do? What do you eat for breakfast to make you feel at that, dialed in moment? What are the things that you do to get you into that moment? And then what are the things that once you get into that moment and you start trading, get you out of it, right? So those are a couple things. Obviously, at the bottom, you start to see, you understand what kind of needs to be happen, but it's up to you, right? And it's the things that you need to do and you need to keep track of, right? You don't need to feel anxious or anything like that. We're gonna have plenty of assignments. It's the first assignment. I get it, but also I think sometimes a lot of people just forget to just breathe, right? Listen, we're not saving lives here, right? We're not paramedics, right? This isn't life or death, right? It's a simple little demo account trading task. So don't overthink it. Even though yes, it's 5 handles, it's very hard, right? And use that to your advantage, right? Yes, this is hard, but I'm going to put my best in it. I'm not going to go in it saying, oh, it's too easy or whatever the case is. It's just it is what it is. It's the hardest thing to do, but you are built for it, right? You can build yourself to get to these things. So don't think of whether it's too easy or too hard. Just take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. Know that it's not life or death, and know that you can do it. And there's things that you can do to get you to that point. And if you don't do those things, you'll go in this hamster wheel, right? Going into basically the trades, you can see right here. First trade, obviously he was going long in here, probably going long in and off this BISI, I assume. And you can see he gets stopped out here. And then within 5 minutes or so, he goes over to ES. I don't know which one was first, but over there. And then basically, obviously he had some level that he was going into. I would say also when you guys are sending these in, if you're going to send screenshots, let us know what this level is, right? Try to annotate that so we can see what that is. So we can see what obviously this was a level you were eyeing in and around 40.86. Let us know what that is so we can know. Obviously you were playing off that. Could have seen maybe a market structure shift, but obviously like you said, higher time frames are bearish, right? You want to trade when the direction is probable. And if we're higher time frame bearish, those longs are a little bit more susceptible to lose. But overall, this is good, right? You lost. It's okay. You lost what you were supposed to lose, and you didn't trade the rest of the week. To me, that's a win, right? To me, that's a win. You're not even down a full 0.5%. That's a million times recoverable, right? All's good there. I think this is a great example. I think if you're watching this live or if you're in a recording, I think this is great. The only thing I can say next time is just add some annotations so we know what it is you're trading, right? What's that? Like you said, there isn't a model that you were trading, but what was anticipating you rather than just, I'm just going to, and if this is it, and you know that this isn't going to help you, but if you're just pressing a button to try to get 5 handles because it's only 5 handles, that's not going to get you anything, right? So, I would say develop a little bit more patience, and I think this week's assignment will create that, and really formulate, have evidence to why you did what you did. But overall, great trade. Even though it wasn't the outcome that you wanted, I think overall you did great with regards to staying in your risk parameters. Second example. Henry, do you want to read this one? We can switch off and read them if you want.
Okay, so this was a 7-minute trade on Thursday's PM session silver bullet, so I'm assuming it was between 2 and 3. Was it? Huh. Maybe so. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah,
silver bullet.
I think you got. He was
Yeah.
trading at
So
1530.
if you're in New York time, I think, well, you should be in New York time. If it is, then just remember that afternoon silver bullet is between 2 and 3 p.m. So, yeah, so 10 to 11 and then 2 and 3 p.m. Pre-trade observations. Prior to executing the trade, I experienced a level of anxiety in the morning session. 2 trades I had set up narrowly missed my limit order by a minimum of 2 ticks. Additionally, I recognize an error in my risk percentage calculation. For future reference, I must ensure greater accuracy, especially during simulated trades. In the trade, throughout the duration of the trade, my confidence was strengthened largely due to the minimal drawdown experience. It's good. Post-trade reflections. Upon concluding the trade, I felt a sense of relief. Not only was I able to successfully complete the task before the 3 p.m. deadline, but the outcome of the trade was also favorable. Good.
And I'll note too one thing too, and this is just learning, right? This is just how you learn. You can see that he's only up $5 on the account. That's just because of his contract sizing was off, right? And he'll get that. Like, you know what? He didn't try to keep trading. He had his trades, and boom, that's fine. He did it. He knows that he can go back and change that. That's an easy fix. He knows now what types of contracts to do. His contract was way lower than it was supposed to. So instead of getting $500 or that 0.5%, he got $5. That's an easy fix. That's fine. And that's why the dollars aren't, and sometimes not even the percentages are the main thing. Don't focus on that. Focus on the trading. Focus on the charts. Focus on getting in at the right time and out at the right time. That's an easy fix. So overall, I think everything here is great. And then this is the trade example.
That it sounds like you had a couple opportunities that missed your trade entry. Well done to not chase into it and just wait for the next opportunity. Because there's plenty of trades. If it's not coming to where you want to take your entry, then that's totally fine. You can wait for later. And it looks like, yeah, you were inside the silver bullet here. So maybe just your trading view might be set on a different time zone. And that's why it's showing your executions are outside.
Yeah, sorry, the trading view is in Argentina time, which is GMT -3.
Okay, yeah.
But you can see the charts are okay.
Yeah, looks good. Well done.
Yeah, great trade. Easy protocol. I like it. Not bad. Much success. I like it. Okay, next one. I was nervous to do this, so I put it off to the last day. Daily sell-side liquidity was my target, and I just looked for a good entry on the 5-minute. I was nervous when 9:30, 9:40 jumped up so suddenly. To be honest, I probably would have cut there if not for the stop loss on the assignment. My target for internal liquidity level was lower, but in the interest of keeping P&L perfect at plus 500, I cut a little early, but green is green. Overall successful, but still felt nervous. Right, so you can see he's playing some higher time frame STIBI. He's got an equilibrium level that he was looking at, and he's aiming for that daily draw on sell-side liquidity. He's looking for that weekly draw in direction, which is lower, right? That's what we've been talking about. He has to go lower, and he cut it at 5 handles, right? He knew that he didn't need any more than 5 handles, even though his draw was way lower and he was expecting more. He's getting okay with letting that. You know what this does is, yes, he was aiming for sell-side liquidity, and it did draw there. That's okay. Subliminally, this stuff is also training you guys and getting you guys accustomed to just getting a chunk out of the market, knowing that it could go way farther and you could be way more right. That's okay. You're not here to be right. You're here to make money. And we want to get you guys on the idea of being consistent with making sure that you're always taking partials and always paying the trader at certain levels. And we're starting that at 5 pips, right? We want you guys to feel comfortable with taking a small chunk, knowing that it could be a big chunk, but you don't need to play the big chunk day in and day out. Overall, great trade. Love it. Can't wait to see what you do in the next assignment. Example number 4.
He trades with no problem on Monday under the required conditions and I reset the account, couldn't get on the charts on Tuesday, Wednesday. I taped bread and found a couple of measure moves that could have worked, but ultimately didn't pull any triggers because I just didn't like what PA was doing. Good. My own fault for looking for 1 to 3 risk reward moves instead of just keeping with the program. This morning, I took a trade that I would have rather managed a bit differently. But anyway, here it is. Initial idea was to enter on the order block in SIBI on the 1 minute, but I got in lower. Despite getting in lower, I would have realistically trailed my stop loss above the SIBI, gone in with 18 to 20 lots instead of 25, and held to the low on the 26th of June on the daily chart. If everything went well, actual terminus would have been about 150 hands away from where I took profits for this exercise.
Now, one thing I will say, I remember talking on the call, I was telling you guys, utilize Monday if you need to take some trades to understand the contract size of whatever it is you're trading. Perfectly fine. Make sure you reset it by Tuesday. I don't know if that's what you were doing or not. I believe that's probably what it is. But make sure now going forward, do not reset the accounts, right? Do not reset the accounts. We really want you guys to stick with whatever it is, even if your contract size is messed up, right? That stuff can play itself out. We're not expecting you guys to follow these risk percentages set in stone week after week after week. If you mess up on if you accidentally do a contract size that's not the right one, just play the trade out and come back and make that known in your notes, and that's perfectly fine. Here you go, Henry.
Okay, so it looks like the SIBI you wanted to enter on was that one from a little bit after 9:45, right around the midnight open. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a good trade. I think you just realigned yourself kind of with the sell program. So if you don't get that initial entry, then you could find another one afterward. So that's a great model too. I mean, you still had, just let me annotate. Let me see.
Should be able to annotate.
Yeah, so you still had a little bit of a had a high purge right there. Shifting back lower under this low, trading under this BISI as well, closing under there. And then notice how all of these candle bodies here are respecting that after trading under the BISI. And then you were able to enter on the order block, it looks like, right here. So nice trade. I like it.
Good stuff. Keep it up. Keep it up. All right. Next one. And guys, just a heads up. Submit how you guys want, but this submission is something that is very easy for us because it's all in one picture. If you guys can find a nice screenshot, the only thing I would say adding to this is let us see what that account's at. Let us, if you can add inside the screenshot just to see what we can see, so we can track to make sure that we can see it. But overall, this is really nice for us because obviously we can see what you're utilizing as the trade setup, but then also your notes are all in one place. It just keeps it clean. So for the most part, if you guys can, if not, keep sending them how they are. If you guys got an online journaling thing that you use, keep using them. This is just super easy for us because it's all in one place. So before, emotions before, I felt no FOMO missing the move from the bottom because there was no setup for me. Great, right? Know when there's a setup, know when there's not a setup, and don't fear catching, or don't get down on yourself for being at the very bottom, very top. As we began consolidating after the initial push up, I had formulated a trade idea. I thought price would sweep the relative equal lows just formed near 8:30 open, and institutional order flow entry drill into the breaker BISI combo before resuming higher. During the trade, based on my trade idea, I had set a limit order above a tick below where price ultimately went, so it never got filled. Seeing the way price reacted to the breaker BISI combo, though I was fairly confident that my trade idea would play out, so I marketed it in. Felt a little bit like I cheated / was chasing despite my confidence in the trade after. I was actually happy that I was able to read price correctly rather than the profit that I made. I guess that's growth. Still, I wish I'd set my order limit a little bit higher. I think that's great. Don't feel like you're chasing the market when you know that if you have a limit order in a specific area, like it's this breaker and it's inside this BISI, and it doesn't fill by a tick or two, don't feel like you're chasing it. That's a really hard thing to do as a trader. I don't think it's considered chasing because you have to realize of the spreads and all that stuff that you're potentially dealing with and the slippage. It might not fill you in, and if you're wanting to get in on that trade, that's fine. Give or take a tick or two. But obviously, she's this dotted line is a previous day's low, right? So she's looking at previous day's low. There's relative equal lows here, right? 930 comes, we Judas, we displace with the breaker and BISI. Perfect. I love that trade. That's the trade that I will take day in, day out. You've got opposing liquidity already taken. You've got displacement with a market structure shift, clear breaker, and the BISI inside of it. Obviously, I'm not sure what this dotted line is, but I'm assuming that's where you were drawing. Obviously, you probably would have really liked to get down in here, and I know that you probably didn't, and I know you got in right in here, but that's okay. You saw the reaction. You saw the price was pushing that way, and it was 5 handles to where you needed to go. You entered it perfectly fine, right? Your entry still having, I guess this is NQ, it's not 5 handles, it's 25 handles, but it's still like, look at her risk. Her risk, he/she, her risk, his risk, is still below the breaker BISI, right? So even though it's 25 handles or 20 handles, whatever it is, it's still solid, right? It's still solidified. And guess what? Price came all the way back. Could have probably taken her out at break even. She took out what she needed to take out. He needed to take out. And then from there, great trade. I think this is awesome, right? Obviously, she has the unicorn set up with an 830 open as confluence. Stop loss is below the BISI low. Target MNOP. Midnight opening price, I think, if I'm correct. Henry, is that right? Midnight opening price?
I'm not certain, but
maybe. Let me know what that is.
Level to
Yeah.
target.
If that's it. Duration 2 minutes. Great. In and out. Boom.
Yeah, very quick. Midnight, I think Kate says.
Yes. Okay, so that was midnight open. Great trade.
Yeah.
Great trade. I love it. Clean, nice. That's the trade that I'll take every day, right? That breaker BISI combo with opposing liquidity taken. Sometimes the draw in liquidity is relative highs and lows. Sometimes it's midnight open price. Sometimes it's an imbalance, right? There's plenty of different draws on liquidity you could have. This is a great trade. I can't wait to see what your next trade is.
Yeah, this is a great example too. Several models that can be utilized for someone who's starting out too, because there's a whole lot of confluence in this area as well, right? Like you have your breaker in there, you have order block right here, and you have the BISI, of course, as well, right? So you have that, and then just your Judas swing at the 930 open, finding under the low, and then you're shifting market structure. That's perfect. Yeah.
Sweet. Good stuff. Good stuff. Henry, up.
1 minute trade. Duration of trade was 1 minute. I went in with 25 lots, in for 20 handles. One risk to reward. As I felt extremely confident the price would form a Judas swing and reject off the 15-minute fair value gap and the hourly order blocks, bearish order blocks median threshold, targeting the low from 832 in. I showed a lack of patience at times. I waited an hour and a half for this setup to form, but when it did, I felt like someone was watching me, knowing that I have to share my trade with you, but I remained composed and willing to test my risk management skills. After my target was hit, I didn't get super excited. I just felt good being right. I normally aim for 60 to 80 candles with a risk of 0.5%. When the narrative is right, I try scaling and always take partials. My biggest issue is my lack of self-control. I've passed 8 challenges span in 2 months, but as soon as I take a loss, I start overtrading and stop following my trading plan. I haven't made it to my first payout.
I want to say something really quick, because when I saw this, I looked at your entry and I read this. I wanted to kind of bring this to attention to this trader because I think that this is going to be a mindset shift. A lot of people don't realize that the mind that you have when you come into trading is not the same mind that you will have when you really get into trading and you get good at trading. That good trader has that good trader of X, whatever your name is, that good trader has a total different mind than that trader that first started, right? The mind that you come into trading with is not the mind that you get good at trading with. This is a mindset shift. You have everything, all of the stats right here, passing 8 challenges in 2 months. As soon as you take a loss, you start over trading and stop following my trading plan. That's because you are, and this is just the way it is, right? I want to get you guys great at this stuff. It's the mind. This has nothing to do with technicals, especially when I saw your trade. It's nothing to do with the technicals. It's mind. It's being mentally weaker than you need to be. You need to build your mind. You need to shape your mind. You need to be strong. Whether you need to do things outside of whether it's working out, cold exposure, breath work. You need to do things on a day-to-day constant basis that your mind does not like. Your mind wants to be comfortable, right? Your mind wants to be comfortable. That's why when you wake up in the morning, it's hard to get out of bed because you're comfortable. And I think that you need to do something every single day. Do one thing, pick it, that's not in trading. Do one thing every single day that you do not want to do. You will build calluses on your mind because a lot of this stuff is mental. Where you're at right now in your trading career, it's mental. It's mental, it's mental, it's mental. It's the mind not being able to be strong enough to incur loss. But if you do something that you really freaking hate every single day, whether it's for 30 seconds, 1 minute, and you stick to it and you stay on that plan and you just say, you know what, I don't want to get in this cold shower, but I'm going to do it. You know what, I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes and I'm just going to focus on my breath. And if one thing I will tell you guys right now, if you don't know how to clear your mind, I'm going to give you a really quick trick right now how to clear your mind. Sometimes in trading in life we get all these thoughts. You've got all these thoughts running and running and running. If you want to just clear your thoughts like this and blank out, I want everyone to do one thing. I want everyone to real quick take one breath in, one big breath in, one long exhale out. Close your eyes while you do it, and then think to yourself. Try to think about what your next thought will be. Real quick, I'm going to do it with you too. Think to yourself, what is my next thought going to be? Notice how when you think about what your next thought's going to be, your mind goes blank. It just repeats. So if you need to reset your mind and you've got all these things going through, you need to take one inhale, big, one exhale, long. But think to yourself, what's my next thought going to be? That automatically resets your thinking pattern, and there's nothing you think about. The only thing you're thinking about, your mind immediately goes blank. You think about what you're going to think about. You just repeatedly think about that, and the next thing you know, your mind goes blank. No thought actually comes up. So this is mental. Do something, I can tell you right now, do something every day that you don't want to do. Whether it's lift weights, go on a run, sweat, cold exposure, breath work, there's plenty of things. Whether it's 10 push-ups, right? Whether it's waking up an hour earlier than you usually do. This right here, because especially when I saw you trade, you know how to trade. You understand technicals. You can do this stuff. Yes, you can refine the technicals as time goes on and the more you get into charts, but you need to learn how to build calluses on your mind. That's where you're at in your trading right now. It's building calluses on your mind. But as for the trade, you had a great trade, right? You were looking for a mean threshold of an order block on a 1 hour. You saw price push up into it. You immediately entered in off of not the first candle, but the second candle. You saw that the first candle closed prior and below the mean threshold, and you took a trade. Now, this is a little bit of a high risk trade, but if you're trading off that 1 hour It's fine, right? You're trading off of 1 minute, off of a 1 hour. So, I would have liked to see this trade right here be the trade that you actually used rather than this trade, right? I would have loved to see you wait for this trade because yes, you have a fair value gap. You also have a breaker in here, right? This is going to give you a more confidence trade. Be a little bit more patient. Yes, price is coming into the level that you're expecting it to reject off of, but let it reject. Let it reject. Let it displace. Let it break. Get in here, right? And yes, you know that would have been your use for scaling, but instead of that being used for scaling, let this play out. Let this do this without you having to get in. Great trade no matter what. Obviously, you're looking at stuff, right? You have a fib. You're looking at the 70.05. You've got this. You've got another area in here. All that's perfectly good, right? You've got your internal sell side liquidity. You've got levels marked out that you're following. It's a very clean chart. This is all stuff that can take. This can be refined over and over and over and over again till the end of time, and you will get better at that. You understand concepts. You understand the way stuff works. You need to understand the way you tick and the way you fall to loss, right? It's just a win. It's just a loss. I say this over and over again. A result is simply a result. It means nothing. It means nothing. Don't tie weight to wins and losses. You're always going to have them. They're a reoccurring thing that will occur over and over and over and over and over and over again. You have to understand that the results don't matter. They don't matter. The win doesn't matter. The loss doesn't matter, right? But great trade. I can't wait to see your next one. But with regards to the fund and stuff and getting withdrawals, that's mental. That has nothing to do with trading. It has nothing to do with trading, right? Because even when you're a good trader, right? It has nothing to do with the trading. It's building the mind that you need to have. Build the mind that you have to have. And the only way you can build your mind, because what happens after time is when you do stuff that you don't want to do, time and time and time again, your body starts to like it. Because what you do is you get this dopamine release of knowing that you did something that you didn't want to do, and your brain starts to really get addicted to it actually, and that's when you start to have this paradigm shift in the mental state of trading. But great trade overall. I liked it. And you'll get withdrawals. Don't worry. You'll pass it. Henry, if you want to do this one.
Okay, so we don't have any commentary for this one, but it looks like it was just using a fair value gap to trade up to buy side liquidity. So, okay, no, it looks like a short setup. So 2022 short, essentially.
Or silver bullet, maybe.
Yeah, silver bullet. So you're within that 10 to 11, which is marked out here. And here you have that purge of liquidity, shift the market structure under these lows, and then looking to trade inside of this fair value gap right in here. Oops. So looking to trade inside of there. Yeah, okay. So it's the right idea. I mean, it's just a matter of the higher time frame draw, right?
Yeah, and I
So,
think also another thing that I can add on this is, there's nothing wrong about this trade, right? I think that this is also higher time frame draw, all this stuff, but also it's it's just a loss, right? You had a fair value gap. You are bearish. You kind of have the 2022 mentorship model. You're inside 10 o'clock. Yes, price. The only thing that I've got, that I can say is price is delivering off of some form of imbalance right here, right? So it's a little hard to sell when price is coming right off this imbalance, especially on a 1 minute. I would have liked to see price not have this much of an imbalance, but it's just a loss, right? It's just a simple loss. That's perfectly fine. Like this is, if this is your model and you're trading silver bullet, I would say the one thing I don't like about silver bullet is just how broad it is, right? It's just a fair value gap within a specific hour of time. that can be good and bad, but you know, I think we need a little bit more context on this too. So, you know, I think next time, you know, let us know what's kind of going through your head. You know, what exactly? I know we're aiming for 5 handles, but we could have drawn it a little bit lower. I see you're probably aiming for like the 9 o'clock lows. But overall, I don't see anything wrong with this trade, right? I think that this is a very valid loss, right? I think that this is a good loss because, you know, you're entering in, and I'm not sure if you executed or not. That's another thing. You know, we'd like to see your executions, but overall, for the most part, you know, if this was your trade, I think it's a perfectly valid, perfectly fine loss, right? You're going with the higher time frame order flow. Yes, I think it's going to get a little. I think the biggest takeaway from it is just when you're selling inside of this BISI right here, it can get a little hard because price might want to trade in and around this level a lot. And with that, you know, and I also don't forget we're in August, right? So price is pushing up into here. This buy side, like obviously we have highs in here. The tendencies in August are going to be a little bit trickier too. Just a couple things to take away there. I think the biggest takeaway was just try to give us a little bit more annotation so we can talk over it, so we kind of know what exactly to kind of cover. But overall, I think it's a valid trade. I think you did perfectly fine, and I can't wait to see what your next trade is. And I think that is.
I think that's a good model too, and just, I mean, even trading that model just with certain risk management, you're going to have losses. Every opportunity or every trade model is going to have losses. But if you manage your risk appropriately over a series of trades, you can find profitability with that.
So yeah, you know, every week we're gonna do a handful of we're gonna choose a handful of trades for you guys. Let me know if you guys like that. If you guys are, you know, getting value out of us going through, you know, a couple trades. It gives you a whole broad perspective, right, of kind of what to do, what not to do, all that stuff. And as it gets better, you know, eventually we will have a template that you guys can kind of follow and submit, where it's like you can submit screenshots and then we ask you questions on certain things. But that's in the works. So we'll get into this week's. We will go into this week's task. All right. So basically, task number 2. The idea behind this task is to create patience. You will only get one trade opportunity this week, but you will have the opportunity to go break even at your discretion. Trade with 2 contracts if you're trading futures, 500,000 lots if you're trading Forex, 100 lots if you're trading US 500, and 100 lots if you're trading US 100. I think I might have missed NQ. Hold on. 1 second. No, we're good. Yeah, that's still the same thing. So obviously the account balance, keep the same balance you finished with after week 1, right? So here are some of the goals. The entire week is open for trading Monday through Friday, anywhere from 3 to 5, 8 to 11:30, 11:50 to 12 o'clock, 1 to 4, right? Open week. One of the most open ones we'll give you, right? We're giving you the whole week to find one trade. We want you to target either a daily or 4-hour, either a daily or 4-hour draw on liquidity, whether that's a high, low, or imbalance. We want you to target that and highlight that in your trades. You don't have to trade to that, and your take profit does not have to be at that level. But what's drawing you in that direction, right? On the daily and 4-hour, is it daily high, daily low? Is it a 4-hour high or low? Is it a 4-hour imbalance? Is it daily imbalance? What's drawing you to that level to get you into that trade? Maximum 1 trade and 1 trade only, win, loss, or break even. If you're trading ES or US 500, trade for 10 handles. If you're trading Forex, aim for 20 pips and aim for 40 handles in Q. This is 1 shot, 1 kill, 1 loss, or break even. Your max profit should be 1% on the week. Your max loss should be 0.5%. We're going to aim for a 1 to 2 risk to reward model. Journal the duration of the trade, time of day, the specific draw and liquidity that you were targeting, and the emotions obviously before, during, and after the trade. And make sure you guys screenshot it by the end of the week and send it to us. Any questions on this? Any questions? I know we had a decent amount of questions going into the first one. Any questions on this that you guys feel once you guys go into the weeks you might have trouble with, or anything here, right? We want to see where you guys, we're going to see how you guys handle break evens. You know, if you guys get stopped out at break even, that's fine. I don't want you guys trailing stops yet, so don't trail your stop past break even. I want to see if and when you guys set break evens, where are you setting them and how you're setting them. So kind of you know, there's going to be a whole bunch of assignments. This is just the next one. One shot, one kill. We want to see how patient you guys are, right? You only get one trade this week. One trade. Are you sure you want to take that trade on a Monday at 8:30? Right? One trade. Look for your best trade, right? This is something where I want to see, I want to see what you guys are willing to be patient for. This is going to show us what you know and what you don't know with regards to what are you really waiting for? Because it's not just waiting, it's waiting for something specific, right? A specific set of credentials that you're looking for. And so when you guys show these trades, come this next week, this is that trade that you've been waiting for, right? You got I'm waiting for X, Y, and Z. Until all three of those things happen, boom. That's that's what we're waiting for. I want to see what you guys come up with. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this?
Just trying to annotate your stop placement on the trades as well. And if you do go to break even, make an annotation about when you do that. So it's something that we're.
Oh, yes. Hold on. I'll add that.
You could use a vertical line or something like that to show the time at which you move your stop to break even if you do.
Okay, any other questions on this before I get into the next thing? And like I said, me and Henry, we worked on the project for probably about 8 hours yesterday. I will say, I'm not gonna give you guys really anything yet because it's still in the works, and we want to make sure that when we present it, the most I can say is we are building a platform for you guys. We're building a website for you guys that you guys can have all access to, where everything is dealt with through that website, where you have a members login and there's a backend area for you guys to it's for the whole community, right? The whole community will kind of take place in and out of that website. We will have templates for all this stuff. We're just makeshifting all this stuff. We'll have templates for each assignment that have specific questions and areas to journal. Right now, you guys are just kind of freehanding it and giving it back to us. We'll have a place for you guys to submit the assignments. We'll have a place for you guys to fill out certain things. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not really going to get into. We've been working very hard on it. It is a process, okay? So bear with us. It's going to take a couple of weeks. Even when me and Henry got into it, we realized that it's going to be a mountain to climb, but we're climbing it. Me and Henry almost were on calls back and forth all week this week, hours at a time, building it, knocking it out. We already have the branding done for it. I'm super excited to share you guys. I'm holding at the tongue to not tell you guys. Henry's probably like, just shut up. But it is super cool. I think it is some of our best work. I think you guys will be super excited for it. I'm super excited for it. It's going to be something that is very, very unique. I've been around the trading industry for the past 6 years, and I haven't really seen anything quite like this. Similar, but nothing this cool. And I know I'm a little biased, but I think this will be very cool and very insightful for you guys. It is going to take us a couple weeks. We're going to try to work our ass off over the next week or so. We may or may not be able to get something to potentially present to you guys by next week. Don't hold me to that because it is a lot. It is a lot. We've got a lot of things, a lot of different angles and actions that are going on at the same time. But you guys will be very happy. And yes, it will be free of cost. We will eventually incorporate a very small subscription fee, but it will be no more than $5 a month. But for now, that's way down in the works. We're not worried about that. It's something that is not even really on our radar yet. We want to get you guys in here using the platform all for free. And for the most part, me and Henry were talking about it too. I think we're going to figure out a way to at least get certain individuals that have been here for a while and that have been joining on these calls. Y'all will probably get grandfathered in either way, so don't really worry about it. But for the most part, the one thing that I can ask from all of you guys, and this is not only for the ones on the call, but for the ones that are watching the recording, if there's one thing you can do for us in the next day or so, if you could please submit to either myself or Henry, whether it's a tweet, DM, email, or anything, just a 2-sentence testimonial with your name and where you're from. Just if we've helped you in any way, shape, or form, right? If you've gone and got funded, great. If you've learned a thing or two about trading and ICT concepts that you didn't know before, great. If there's anything that you might have learned about yourself or just anything at all from the slightest, the one thing that we could ask from you is to please send us a 2-sentence testimonial. Please include where you're from. That's something that we do need from you guys. We would greatly appreciate it. You know, we want this. We do this stuff for you guys. This isn't for us. You know, me and Henry, we could sit here and we could go on and not have to do any of this stuff. We like doing this stuff. We want to see where you go in life. We want to see where you go in trading. And we're going to give it our all. I was telling Henry the other day, this is my Magna Carta. This is my final forum. I'm going to give everything I have into you guys. I'm going to pour my soul, my heart, every blood, every heartbeat, every breath into getting to you guys where I think you guys can go. I can't do that for you. I can only give you everything that I think I can give you, and I can show up every time that I need to show up and be there for you. But you guys are going to have to make the hard decisions, right? You guys are going to have to wake up every day, do the things you don't want to do, and know that it's going to take building. It's going to take something. There's a gap right now between where you are and where you want to be, and it's up to you to try to build that bridge and close that gap. I'll sit there and I can hand you the hammer and I can hand you the nails and I can hand you all the wood and I can show you how to do it, but you have to take that hammer and you have to hammer it in. I can't do it for you. That's the only way this will work. But I'm super confident. I'm super excited. So please, 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 especially if you are not on the call and you are watching this recording right now, just after this call is done, once it's done, take 2 seconds and send us a quick 2-sentence testimonial as how we might have been able to, help you in your trading over the past 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever it is. We've been doing this since January. So I know a lot of you guys, even if you watch the recordings and you don't hop on it, if you've been around since January, whatever the case is, please, a 2-sentence testimonial is the only thing we ask. Thank you so much. Henry, do you have anything else there?
Yeah, I just want to say that would be a great help to us and to the community in general too. This is what we're trying to build here is a community that really benefits from its membership and from people helping one another out, right? Like these training exercises that we do are an opportunity for you to be accountable for your trading and to learn from your trades, but you're also getting the benefit of other traders coming on and sharing their experience and their wins and their losses. So as we continue to build this community and get other people to join, if you know other traders who are looking for some way to get involved or to continue learning, reach out to them too and send them our way. Or
if you have a friend that is in trading, and they've given up or they're about to give up, throw their ass in the call, put them in the call, force them to join, force them to watch a recording, whatever it is, get them in here, because I promise you, we are going to do our best to turn them around. We want traders who not only are hungry and motivated, but I want the traders that are doubtful of it, that doubt themselves, that doubt the industry. I want those guys. I want everyone, but also more importantly, I want those people. I want the people that think that it can't work, because I can sit here and I can formulate, and as long as they show up and as long as they reciprocate the effort, I can promise them that it can work. So yes, please, word of mouth does help. The community is more than open. Me and Henry have not done any marketing at all yet. We haven't done anything for it with regards to letting it. Right now, we're just letting word of mouth do its thing for right now. So please, and I know that it will spread a little bit more once it does open, but if you're watching this right now and you do have a friend that's been on the edge of either trading, not trading, stopping trading, whatever the case is, please tell them to just hear us out. I think we have something super special for them and you. But other than that, that's really about it. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this call. I think sharing those training exercises, not only hearing what we have to say about yours, but then also seeing what we have to say about the others, and also seeing what we did, right? Because we're doing those training exercises too. And I even told you guys from the get-go, we're not going to be perfect either, right? You saw Henry lose his first trade. So, I could be on the chopping block next week. You never know. So I do appreciate all of you guys. This is in and around the 2-hour mark. As we start to get more submissions, it'll potentially go over, it'll be around that 2-hour mark, give or take. And yeah, as we get more submissions, that gives us reasons to go in and talk about certain concepts, whatever the case is. Obviously, like always, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, reach out to us, let us know. Speak up now. We've got time, but that's kind of the conclusion of it. Me and Henry will probably get off this call, and we're going to probably go work for another 5 hours on building this stuff. It'll be worth it. It'll be fun. I'm super excited to see what you guys think about it and where it goes, where we go. Other than that, Henry, do you have any closing things?
That's really it for me. I mean, I'm excited to introduce what we're building to y'all, and I really value this community too, and being a part of it, because I mean, even Carson and I are still we're forever students, right? So we're all learning from these opportunities and from everybody coming in and sharing their experiences. So
I'm not shaving my beard until it's done. So I told myself I'm not trimming or shaving my beard until I finish at least building this. So at least you can know the sense of urgency. Well, I thank you guys. Please have a safe week trading. Excited to see where you guys do, what you guys do in this assignment, and have a great rest of your Sunday. We like to get you guys out, I guess EST time, it's about lunchtime here. So if you're around this time, have lunch. If it's dinner time, it's breakfast time, make sure you go get a good meal. Food is important. And we will see you guys on Wednesday. Hopefully you guys are liking those midweek calls too. Hopefully that kind of keeps you guys in the loop too, midweek, to kind of be in touch with where the market could potentially close based on how it's traded. We're going to try to keep you guys as connected and as close to us throughout the week. And I think that midweek call gives us just enough time to kind of talk about what we talked about on today's call, but then also where that week could close out. But other than that, I think that's about it. There's really nothing else on my end. Henry's good. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. I wouldn't want to spend my Saturday morning with anybody else. So thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Stay safe.